In this video lesson, we are going to discuss about the key building blocks of a sentence, that are clauses. Our agenda for this lesson contains introduction to the clauses, various types of clauses, the independent clause, subordinating conjunctions, independent clause connectors, dependent clause types, clause errors, and the quiz. Saying that clauses are the building blocks for sentences is not a complete definition, because so are the words which make a sentence, and so are the phrases. So the question arises, what is a clause? And here's the answer. A clause is a group of related words containing a subject and a verb, and that differentiates it from a phrase in that a phrase does not include a subject and a verb relationship. Now that we know what clause is, let's look at the various types of clauses. Good news for the students, there are only two clause types. One is independent and the other one is the dependent clause. An independent clause, as the name suggests, can stand by itself and make a whole sentence on its own. On the other hand, the dependent clause, when separated from the sentence and kept alone, does not make the complete sentence. It feels like there is something missing if you keep a dependent clause separately from the sentence and try to infer the meaning of it. Sometimes a very common mistake is to use a dependent clause as a complete sentence, and that error is called sentence fragmentation. You might have noticed this while you are working on your Microsoft Word editor. It underlines some sentences and suggests that there is a fragmentation. So that's what the error is about when you try to use a dependent clause as a sentence. An independent clause, on the other hand, is a complete sentence in itself, but may be a part of a larger structure which might contain other independent clauses and or dependent clauses. Independent clauses are also called as essential or restrictive clauses, also sometimes the main clauses. Independent clauses are sometimes called as essential or restrictive clauses, also as main clauses, and dependent clauses are called subordinate. Further on the independent clause, let's look at some of the examples. Glaciers often leave behind holes in the ground. This is a one full independent clause. And here we have two independent clauses joined with an and conjunction, which is also called as a coordinating conjunction. A coordinating conjunction is the one which joins two independent clauses, two or maybe more. Look at this one with a semicolon. We use a semicolon to join independent clauses which are related to each other. Now in this one, if you see, we will have a detailed look at this one on the next slide. Continuing from the last slide. No, not this one. Continuing from the last slide, we have the sentence that was the last sentence on your previous slide. If you look at this sentence, it has a very brief independent clause that is Kettle-Holz result. And what follows is a very complex, or at least a medium complexity, in a dependent clause starting from when, and that is why the when is a subordinating conjunction, because it introduces a dependent clause, or in other words a subordinate clause. So when a large block of ice is left behind the glacier and then melts away, leaving a large depression, is a dependent clause which depends on independent clause Kettle-Holz result.